Hey there, Nicholas from Growth Marketer here, and in this video we're going to be looking at Hotjar. I'm going to show you what it is, what you can use it for, and give you a quick tour of some of the features and functionality. So Hotjar is a simple tool that lets you understand how your users are really experiencing your site without drowning in numbers. They do a good job of explaining what the product is right here on the homepage, but the best way to think about it is when it comes to analytics, specifically website analytics, there's really two different types. There's quantitative analytics and there's qualitative analytics. When you think of a tool like Google Analytics, which is very popular and I always recommend you use that on your website, it's free, you're thinking about quantitative analytics. It's the numbers. It's what happened on your site, such as how many visitors you have, where they went, that type of thing. It's the quantitative numbers. However, there's the other side of the equation, which is the qualitative analytics, and that's not really something that Google Analytics is really good at surfacing for you. And so that's where these types of qualitative analytics and feedback tools come in, and Hotjar happens to be probably the most well-known and the most user-friendly at the small business level. So it's not really an enterprise tool, although there are large companies using it, but it is really accessible for a small business to start using it, and they have a free plan, which is really cool. So let me show you some of the key features of Hotjar. You can see here they have heat maps, which is where the name comes from, Hotjar and heat maps. And this is probably what most people think about when they think about Hotjar. It's being able to see where are people clicking, how far down the page they're scrolling, and basically where they're spending time on the page. However, my favorite feature is actually not the heat mapping feature, it's the session recording feature. And what this is, imagine if someone was using your website and you're able to look over their shoulder at their screen, not in real time, but it's a recording, of course, and you get to see how they're moving the mouse around the page, or if they're on mobile, you can see how they're scrolling up and down. You can see how they're trying to fill out the form. Are they getting stuck anywhere? Are they going back and forth between certain pages? This is really useful information because it can help you surface usability issues. It can help you see what are people focused on and what are they ignoring. And this can then help you have some insights that you may want to test or optimize or improve on your landing page. They also have these other tools. So those are the two behavior tools that I just mentioned, the heat maps and the session recordings. They also have these feedback tools. One is called incoming feedback, and you can see they use it right here on their homepage, where you just click here and I can say, I love Hotjar. There you go. It's great. I could do something like that, send it, and boom. I can put in my email if I want to. I can skip it. I could check the little box there. But basically, it's a way to collect either anonymous or other types of data from your visitors. And this is great for getting quick feedback, fixing bugs, and also it's good for lead capture, believe it or not, if people put in their email address. And then they have the surveys tool, which is something that pops up towards the bottom of the screen. You've probably seen stuff like this on sites. There's a lot of different companies that do these types of surveys, but Hotjar was one of the early ones doing this, and it's great. You can have a simple question like this one where it shows how likely are you to recommend us, or you can have more complex surveys. And this is really good for things like maybe a thank you page. You know, what was the number one thing that you liked about our website, or what made you purchase today? Things like that that are just a quick way to get a voice of the customer response in a short survey and make it almost frictionless. So those are the four main features. You can see Hotjar is used by over 900,000 organizations across 180 countries, including Adobe and HubSpot and Nintendo. So some really big names here. Yes, it is Gdpr compliant and Ccpa compliant. There is some additional work you have to do to make sure that everything is set up perfectly if you are relying on the Gdpr or Ccpa privacy features there. But yeah, overall, the company's really cool. From what I remember, this is a remote company. I believe they started in Malta, and they have a growing team, and they just have a lot of really good content that they put out as well on their blog. So I recommend you check out their blog. Let's look at their pricing real quick. To be honest, the pricing is a little bit confusing, and I wish it was simpler, but you know, it used to be a little simpler than this, but it's not that bad. So they basically have three different types of plans. You have the personal plan. Now this is for personal projects and sites with low traffic. So if you're a business, you should be on the business or the agency plan. But let's say you're using this for a personal project. They have the free forever plan. Now it is limited. You only get about 2,000 page views per day, but that's usually more than enough for most beginner personal projects. You get to create up to 3 heat maps, and you get to have up to 100 recordings per day. It's really not that bad for a free plan. you do get what you pay for though. You have the Plus plan. This one is about $39 a month, and these are in US dollars at the time of this recording. So I'm recording this in early 2021, mid 2021. So pricing may have changed by the time you see this. Now with the Plus plan, you're getting everything in the free plan, but you're getting higher limits and you're getting some additional limits here as well, which you can read about here. Then if you switch over to the business types of plans, this is where you can really start scaling up. And if you have a lot of traffic, these are the types of plans you want to be on. So you can see it really depends on how many sessions you need. And it goes from $99 a month to up to $289, or you can go all the way up to spending $989 a month on the scale plan. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And then if you're an agency, they have a really cool structure for how you can work with Hotjar to use this for your client sites and have sort of this master account above it. You can learn more about it on this page. So next, why don't we jump into the product and take a look behind the scenes, and I'll show you how everything works. Okay, here we are in my Hotjar dashboard, and we're looking at the Growth Marketer site here. Now you can have multiple sites connected to your account, so I just picked one for the purposes of this video, and I just want to walk through some of the different features. Now, if we go to the heat map section, let's just take a look at the homepage heat map here. And so you'll see that there's a whole bunch of different things you can click on depending on the view that you want to look at, whether it's desktop, tablet, or mobile, and then whether you want to see where people are clicking, where they're moving their mouse, or where they're scrolling. And just keep in mind the mouse movement is really just something for desktop. So if you're primarily focused on mobile, since there is no mouse, that's not going to be as helpful. But here we're looking at the last 30 days of the homepage, and we can see where are people clicking on desktop. And then if I want to switch and see where are they moving, I'll just click here. And you can see this shows all the different types of movements on the page. And then what I think is most useful for the heat maps is how far down the page they're scrolling. So here, as you see, as it gets lighter, fewer people are making it to that part of the page. Now this is a very short page, but what's really useful here is that you can look at this and say, well, if I have something that's really important that I need everyone to see, but it's all the way down here where there's only like, let's say 25 people actually getting to that part of the page, then maybe that tells me I need to move that element higher up on the page. So that's where you can take this insight and make it into an actionable thing that you could then implement on your site. So that's a really important thing to look at when you are evaluating this data, because it's one thing just to look at the data, it's another thing to look at the data and actually use it for something that you need to implement. So another use case of how you can take this data and turn it into an actionable insight is when you go to the clicks, you can see where are people clicking. And if you see people clicking in a spot that's not a link, but you're getting a lot of clicks there, that may tell you that people think that's a area that's clickable. And then you either need to redesign it to make it look non-clickable, or maybe it's a good idea to make it clickable, turn it into a link if people are naturally going to click there. So for instance, you see here, I really only have 2 links on this homepage. It's a very simple homepage. I have the sign in for the newsletter. This is the sign up button. So I want people clicking there, and then I want people clicking down here at the bottom to read the blog. So everywhere else is sort of a missed opportunity, or it's not a real click, but I don't see anything here that tells me that there's enough activity. I mean, you're always going to get clicks on your logo, so that's kind of expected, but I don't see anything else here right off the bat that tells me that there's an issue there, but that's the type of analysis I would do based on the heat maps. Let's look at recordings real quick. And so what's cool about recordings is you can filter them. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can filter down to see only the recordings you want to look at. But just for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to click on this first one here. It's going to open in a new tab. And now you can see this is a real user moving around the page, and you can either play it in real time, or if you have to watch a lot of these recordings, you can use this little speed up button. You can also skip inactivity. So it's only going to go to these parts of the video where there's some type of movement or action. So it's going to skip everything that's just blank space or no activity at all. And then what's useful here is really being able to watch a lot of these recordings. You're going to start seeing patterns, and maybe you'll see a certain user behavior, or you'll see a certain issue that you need to fix, or you see a problem with forms. I can't tell you how many times I've been reviewing these types of things for clients, and I'll see an issue with the form, and people cannot get through the form, or there's something that needs to be fixed. And if I didn't look at these recordings, I would have never seen it, because maybe it was working fine on my device, but not on someone else's. So this is really useful, but you do have to watch a lot of these types of recordings, so you do have to be pretty patient with it. And you can just also tag these if you want to come back to them later. You can add comments if you have other people that you want to watch these with, but it's very useful to watch a number of these recordings. And then let's look at incoming feedback. Okay, so for this demo, I don't have the feedback widget set up, but let me show you how quick and easy it is to set one up. So all you do is you click on the incoming feedback widget, you get started, you can give it a name. You can then change the appearance, and you can see what it's going to look like here. You can change the color, you can have a light or a dark theme, and you basically go through these steps. You determine where do you want it to show up. Do you want it to show up on all pages, just on desktop, just on mobile? I like to put it on all pages as long as it's not interfering with another really important call to action. So you want to be very careful that it's not showing up in a pop-up window or things like that. And then as you go through, you basically just tell Hotjar where do you want the feedback to be sent. Usually I'll want to receive it via email, and then you can activate it and go live. And then you just add the snippet of code, which you're using one little snippet of code for all of this. So every time you make a change in Hotjar, you don't need to go back to your site and update anything. As long as you have that initial Hotjar tracking script, it's a piece of JavaScript on your site, everything's going to update as soon as you make changes in Hotjar. So let's look at the final feature, which is surveys. This one is a very useful feature, but it's not something that I use too often because you don't want to overwhelm people with too many different calls to action on your site. So if you're already using pop-ups or sticky bars or the incoming feedback widget, you don't want to have that plus a survey. So surveys are certainly something you should use sparingly. I like to put them on thank you pages because by that point you've already captured that person's lead or whatever the contact information was you wanted to get, or they've already made the sale or the purchase. So at that point you're not really losing anything by having the feedback widget or the survey on the thank you page. But here, just like the other settings, you just go through the process to create a new survey. It's very easy, and here you can see a little demo of what it looks like. So it's very flexible, and you can also minimize it so it doesn't get in the way. So there you have it. That's an overview of Hotjar. It's one of my favorite tools to augment the data you're already getting with Google Analytics. And by putting Google Analytics and Hotjar together, you're going to be collecting more data, and you're going to get the qualitative and the quantitative data, which is what you need to get better results with your online marketing. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I will have many more videos like this on the channel, and I will see you in the next video. So take care.